Sunday and time for a little leisure. And nice to have you back. We've been missing you, gal.
I've been missing you too. You know, these things that are happening in the world at the moment, we need to really take stock of what's going on in life and try and keep as safe as possible. And it doesn't matter about just people, we're talking about everything.
Everything.
Yeah. Everything is interconnected. So we need to look and see how that works and how it affects you and how you affect the environment as well.
Yeah. No, it's true. I think we've lost that interconnectivity with our own planet.
Yep. And this is Mother Nature turning around and saying, hey, read between the lines, guys.
Yeah.
We're going to get you for this one.
No,
yeah.
I'm with you on that one. What are we talking about today, Mel in the Garden?
Well, you know, if everything is interconnected, definitely trees. Okay, especially for me, I'm like a really huge tree person. I'm the person who walks up to trees and hugs them and doesn't care if people turn around and look at me and say, you're very weird. But that's fine, because a lot of we gardening people are a little bit strange, and why shouldn't we be? Because, I mean, trees are absolutely the most fundamentally wonderful things in the world. And if you think about leaves, the amount of energy and the amount of work which leaves do every single day in one day is more than all the energy output from all the humans that have ever lived since the beginning of time, and they're doing it on a daily basis.
You're kidding me?
No, I'm serious. That's how amazing trees are. People are here, plants are here. Okay, trees are really up there. That is the way it goes. And we live in this, supposedly Johannesburg, they say, is an urban forest. It is. Yes. It is an urban forest.
Yeah.
It is, however, a myth that it is the largest urban forest in the world. In fact, Durban, surprisingly, Durban and that whole area is actually a bigger urban forest.
I never knew that.
Yeah, and in fact, I think Johannesburg's around about 7th. Okay, I think the biggest actual, because you can't talk about it from the point of view of it being a forest. If you're going to say a man-made forest, then you've got to look at China, where they've planted billions of trees over thousands and thousands and thousands of hectares, whereas Johannesburg is a very small area, and it is not an unbroken canopy. And that's what it basically boils down to. The biggest man-made forest, where we're talking about actual canopy, is in Rio de Janeiro. So Johannesburg's around about 7. Durban is up there, higher than that. But the thing is that we do have the most amazing thing. Oh, another myth about Johannesburg, by the way. Yes. It's not the only city in the world that is not built on a watercourse or by the sea. That's also nonsense. You know, all these people trying to tell us that Joburg is fantastic. We know Joburg is fantastic, okay, but not for those reasons.
Yes.
But when it comes to our plants, the fact of what was here in the past, and I love going and standing like up on the top of Westcliff and looking down over Joburg and thinking, if we flood the Free State, we could have an inland sea, and then Joburg would be perfect. No, I'm joking, okay. But I like looking at it and thinking about what was there before.
500 years ago.
Yeah. You know, or even in the early 1800s, because there wasn't this forest. We had very few trees. There were very scrubland trees, bushveld trees, your blue quarries, some acacias. So we can't call them acacias anymore. Senegalias, those kind of things. Yeah. So I love looking and thinking about what it looked like back in the day.
You know, you walk down the Yixke, for example, and you see some of those beautiful rock formations, and you can almost see 2 female kudu drinking just underneath that tree, and this huge croc lying, sunning on the... that to me is the magic of trying to picture what this place we call Joburg was like not that long ago, actually.
A couple of 100 years ago.
Yeah, absolutely.
But then the sad thing about what's happening at the moment, in not just in Johannesburg, but pretty much all over South Africa, a lot of places, is that we are going to be losing a lot of trees. not only because we have shotol borer, which we will get onto in a second, it's also because, Johannesburg has more jacarandas than Pretoria. We should be jacaranda city. But the thing is that the jacarandas are now coming to the end of their lifespans. A lot of trees, like human beings, also have a specific amount of time it will live. So people are sitting there and going, oh yeah, but the jacarandas and this, that, and the other. And we're going, yeah, but you need to start thinking for the future. We need to start planting as many trees as possible now. Not just because they're being taken out, but because we need to start replenishing. Now, shotol borer, now that COVID came along and started affecting human beings, unfortunately, that got pushed straight underneath the doormat. Nobody's really thinking what's going on with shotol borer. And I think come spring this year, we're going to get quite a fright when we see how many trees are not going to make it. Especially in the parks, with all the trees that are being whacked. And for those of people who don't know what the shotol borer is about, it is a tiny, tiny little borer. The problem is not so much the borer, so you can spray insecticide, borer. The problem is that this nasty little thing brings its food on its back, a fungus, and it takes the fungus with him into a hole. Okay? Well, the name of this, they've changed the name because, botanists, entomologists, they all have to earn money somehow, so they change names of things. So Euocalia fornicatus. And fornicatus is the part of the name which I think is absolutely spot on for this little, I won't say the word, okay. But that is the thing that comes, and everybody's sitting there and going, oh no, we can just spray the tree, or we'll use a systemic and we'll kill the insect itself, but that's not what is killing the tree. Once you see your tree's in trouble, that tree is gone, because the fungus has gotten inside the tree, it's eating away at the cortex, it's messing up the phloem and the xylem. Do you remember that stuff from school? I remember it, I was fascinated by it. And it can't bring food or water up and down inside the trunk at all. So it's one of those things that people say, save the tree. And we've got lots of arborists who are saying, how much money are you prepared to throw at this tree? Have we got to 19,000 Rand now? Do you want to keep on trying? A lot of the time we're going to have to just say to people, you know what, this tree is not going to make it. I'm sorry, I know you bought the house because of the tree, but you're going to have to plant something else. And that's why a lot of people are saying, don't go and take down trees that are supposedly invasive species at the moment, even if it isn't invasive, because if you take that down, the amount of time it's going to take for you to have something growing up in its place, we're going to end up with no trees. It's a scary thing, and everybody's saying, this is a myth. It's like COVID. This Euocalia fornicatus, it's like COVID. It's one of these things, it'll go away. No, it won't.
Yeah, we had two beautiful big trees that had to be taken down. The bloke, I don't know what you call them.
The arborist.
The tree man.
Yeah.
The tree doctor.
The tree
fella.
Yeah.
Came, took one look at it, he said,
just went, no,
it's got to go.
Yeah.
And you've got to accept it. It's got to go.
The thing for me though is I'll walk in, and it's a funny thing when you have people, if you work in the retail industry when it comes to plants, you'll have people coming in suddenly going, I want one of those trees that gets all those pink flowers that are up at the moment. And it's very much a seasonal thing that people will drive around and they'll see the kapok tree in full flower, and then they must have one.
Yeah.
So then the next thing will come along and they'll see all of the coral trees are in full flower at the moment. We've got to have coral trees. And I've been saying to people for the last 3 or 4 years, please don't plant coral trees. Reason being, it's one of the local trees, indigenous trees, that the shotol borer loves. And I don't think that anybody should actually be selling any coral trees or bush willows at the moment, because those are the trees that are going to be actually hammered. But there are some, fortunately, there may be some hope for the future. I know that South Africa put this whole thing out about, we have a cure. And I'm like, no, you don't. No, you don't. Okay? They've been working on this in Los Angeles and California and in Israel for 10 years or so. They have not come up with a cure for it. There is no cure. However, there are some people who are putting their prodigious minds to the problem, and one of whom was actually a plastic surgeon who's now decided he wanted to do something about it, and he's come up with a fairly elegant, not solution, but a way of actually helping the trees to help themselves. So we've been working on that. And I'm keeping my fingers crossed that it'll actually kind of go further forward. And as soon as we can all get outside and start looking after our trees again, that'll be a lot better. But we have to think outside the box, outside the trunk. There's no more boxing, Helena. No taking off arms and legs and putting it into a box.
She's not a war puppy.
No, I'm not. What can I say? I love trees.
It's nice to have you back.
It's good to be back. Thank you for having me.
Melanie Walker on Mansfield Today. That's it from The Gardening Show. We'll chat again next week. Same time, same place. Bye-bye.